Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's Coffee with the Principal. We are in for a treat today because we have Miss Dunklin with us today, who's going to be leading today's module, our third module on substance use awareness and resiliency building. So I'm so glad that Miss Dunklin is joining us and leading the session today. She's an excellent person to do this. She's taught science in the past. She's STEM teacher this year. She's taught health in the past. So she's really well equipped to share this information with you and families. Just as a reminder, we did record the first two modules, and those are available in a playlist on our that you can access on our YouTube channel. And yeah, that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over and just be a participant, and I will turn it over to Miss Dunklin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day. So as Mr. Hunsberger said, I will be leading our substance use awareness and resilience building module number 3. All right, so welcome. We're glad you're here and want to start off by thanking you all for coming. Throughout the module, you'll hear some terms, parents/caregivers, used interchangeably to refer to all caregivers, including biological parents and adoptive parents, legal guardians, foster caretakers, and relative caregivers. We know that you are here because you care deeply about the well-being of children, about the children in your life. And we welcome and value your participation. We want to acknowledge some of the topics that we will address could be triggering. If at any point in the presentation you feel overwhelmed, we encourage you to do what you need to help regulate your nervous system. That could be taking deep breaths, drinking a cold glass of water, or a warm cup of tea, stretching, moving your body, whatever helps you remain calm and present. Lastly, we're here as your allies in this work. Our approach is centered on power within dynamic. We want to partner in this work. We see you as an expert of your children, and we are thankful you have allowed us to be an ally in supporting your child's well-being. So this slide is a review of the strategic plan priority. Today's training will address one of the priorities outlined in the LAUSD strategic plan under Pillar 2, which is joy and wellness. It is a priority of the district to create and deliver workshops that are focused on deepening the parent caregiver knowledge, skills, and dispositions to support their students' social and emotional needs. So our learning objectives today will be to learn about ways to talk to kids about alcohol and other drugs, explore ways to monitor and supervise your kids, and recognize signs that your child may need help. So it's a reflection activity. So the reflection question is, what feelings come up for me? So think about this as you, so we've kind of reflect on this on your own. What feelings come up for me when talking to my child or children about difficult topics like substance abuse? As a teacher, for me, when I think about with this reflection activity, when kids ask questions, I govern my answers depending upon their age and parent consent. With my family, it actually is the same with my little sister and brother, and my nieces and nephews. So these are things to kind of think about. How do you approach some of these difficult topics? So our key point is talking about substance abuse with your child may feel difficult for many reasons, but it's an important step towards prevention. It is never too early at all to talk to your children about alcohol and other drugs. Research shows that kids who receive clear messages about the dangers of substances early and often at homes are 50% less likely to use those drugs or alcohol. Having an open and honest conversation is one of the most powerful ways to connect with your children and help them make healthy choices. One of the main things when you're talking about your children, or some of the main things when you're talking to your children or your child about these things, about these difficult topics, would be one, to be intentional. Choose a time when everybody's calm. Maybe when they're in the middle of a video game, stopping it might not be the best idea. So, like the ride home from school or the ride to school, like when everybody's calm and not distracted. So again, limit the distractions, just have it be a conversation between you and your child. Use the opportunity to have a natural conversation about substance abuse. Don't wait until there's like a crisis and then you have to talk about it. Let it be a natural conversation. And then frequent these conversations so that they are effective, so they know that this is something that can go to you and talk about as well. So because they know that these conversations come up and your child feels safe to come to you and have these drug talks. Be prepared to discuss your own use if necessary, because that honesty, it goes a long way, and that not just the honesty, but the being transparent with children is very needed, because they trust you more. Think about how you'll respond if your child asks about your own use. If you chose not to do drugs, explain the reasons why. If you did, share the experience, what the experience taught you. Focus on giving them explanations about why you don't do drugs now, and the problems that using caused you. And you don't have to give a lot of details. You don't have to like be, oh, I did this and I did, a lot of the, minute details. Just an overview. Just so that kids know that they're transparent and can trust you. There are 5 conversation goals to strive for when talking to your child about substance use. In your conversations, you'll want to, 1, show you disprove of underage drinking and other drug misuse. Show that you are a good source of information about alcohol and drugs. Build your child's skills and strategies for avoiding drinking and drug use. And show that you care about your child's health, well-being, wellness, and success. Showing that you're paying attention and you discourage risky behaviors. So in the first conversation, when the first conversation goal, send clear and concise messages that you disapprove of underage drinking and use of or misuse of other drugs. A clear message of disapproval may sound like, our family does not allow drugs or underage drinking because it's bad for your health. Drug use can lead to problems like addiction, brain damage, death. Sentences like that. You don't have to use those exact words, but sentences such as those. Conversely, not talking about alcohol and other drugs still sends kids a message. Kids don't always have all the facts when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. So if parents don't talk about the risk of underage drinking and substance use, their kids might not see the harm in trying alcohol and other substances. Conversations can start as early as elementary. And it prepares your child for a time when drugs may be offered. If you talk to your kids directly and honestly, they are more likely to respect your rules and advice. The second conversation goal to show that you are a credible source for your child. You don't want your child to learn about drugs and alcohol and drugs from unreliable sources. You want your child to make informed decisions about alcohol and drugs with reliable information and its dangers. You want to establish yourself as a trustworthy source of information, so stick to the facts. Discuss reasons not to use. Address all myths and misinformation. Be direct and honest about risk and dangers. Avoid scare tactics. They actually don't work. Be willing to learn and seek information together. If your child asks a question that you can't answer, promise to find an answer so that you can learn together. Then follow up. Being a credible source does not imply that you know everything about drugs and alcohol, because that's actually quite impossible. Doing this can sound like, and these are some possible sentences that you could use. It is important that you never take drugs from anyone, including friends you think you can trust. It is impossible for anyone to know if a drug containing anything deadly like fentanyl until it's too late. One pill alone can be deadly. Your third goal you want to accomplish is conversation building your child's skills and strategies for avoiding drug use. So have a plan to avoid drugs and alcohol use. Can help your children make better choices. Discuss practical ways to resist peer pressure. Brainstorm with your child about ways to turn down the offers of drugs. Help your child to work through problems in a thoughtful way. Brainstorming is also great because then they take it upon themselves to think through some of these ways to avoid drugs and alcohol. Practice role play. Is an idea for practical response, and use practical responses such as, if you're ever offered drugs or alcohol, you can tell them, my parents would never let me out again if I did that. Or my parents can always tell if I'm lying or hiding something. So these are some possible statements your students can say to others to others and with you when you guys are role playing. Develop a safety plan to avoid and exit the dangerous situations. Remind them that you're always a phone call away or a text away, and you'll be there to get them whenever they need. Help your child gauge warning signs what might a dangerous situation look like or feel like. Talk to your child about what they would do if they face a decision about alcohol and drugs, such as texting a code word to a family member or practicing how to just say no thanks. Identify supportive adults that can respond. Provide reassurance that your child can come to you no matter what, even if they make a mistake. Just know, a good sentence would be, just know that you can talk to us about anything at any time. Even if you do make a mistake or feel stuck in a situation and need our help, we won't freak out, and together we'll find a way to help you. And again, that goes to that transparency and open lines of communication with your child. And the fourth point, the goal of this goal conversation is with your child, to show your child that you are having these talks because you care about their health, wellness, and success. At the beginning of this presentation, we identified some of the feelings and conversations this brings up for us. It's an emotionally charged conversation, and sometimes fear and worry take over the tone of the conversation. This goal is a gentle reminder to take a step back, center yourself, and bring your hopes for them, to lead in a healthy and happy life to the forefront of the conversation. Young people are more likely to listen when they know you're on their side. Reinforce that you don't want your child to drink or use any other drugs because you want your child to be happy and safe. As your child grows, conversations may change, but they always will be centered on keeping them happy, healthy, and safe. Other tips that you can use is to listen to them without judgment, avoid lectures, they tune you out. Ask and listen to your child's opinions and views about drugs, and assure your teen that he or she can be honest with you. The last goal is number 5, is show your aware of what your child is up to. Young people are more likely to drink or use other drugs if they think no one will notice. During your talks, bring up concerns or changes you've noticed, such as, I noticed you made new friends. Tell me about them. Can we talk about what happened to your old friends? And you're getting home later than usual on your walk home from school. Has something changed? Also, you seem a little down lately. Is there anything you'd like to talk about? Try working on active listening with your child so it can be hard to keep the conversation going with your kids. The following strategies can promote two-sided dialogue where kids feel safe to discuss subjects and model effective communication. This style of conversation is collaborative, listens more than tells, and honors the autonomy and ability to choose. So ask open-ended questions. Questions that elicit more than just a yes or no response. Be positive and use affirmations. Let youth know that you hear them. So reflect back what they say. It doesn't have to be verbatim, but reflect back that to them so they know that you are listening. Summarize and ask questions, and then ask permission. Ask if it is okay for you to speak with them about their concerns and offer some feedback. And demonstrate understanding through offering empathy and compassion. So here are some conversation starters when it comes to your teens. If you're with kids who are vaping and drinking or using drugs, how do you feel? how would you handle it? Besides family members, who do you feel most comfortable talking to about substances and why? And lastly, what would you do if you saw friends taking prescription pills that aren't theirs? What if you saw them drunk or high? So these are some ways to kind of start a conversation with your child or children. Other conversation starters when it comes to like relations relate to perceptions and understanding could be when you hear or see messages about drugs, how do you decide which are myths and which are facts? Do you know what overdosing is? What do you know about it? What do you know about why someone your age is more likely to get addicted to drugs? Preventative talks could include things such as problem solving, so conversations about drugs and alcohol to help your child develop problem solving skills, such as no thanks and other exit strategies. Building healthy boundaries or having your child build healthy boundaries, or teaching your child how to build healthy boundaries and set those boundaries, so and not allow anybody to cross these boundaries. And lastly, don't expect all conversations with your children to be perfect. They won't be, but sticking to these conversation goals will make it more likely that your kids will come to you if they're in trouble. So monitor and supervise is our next section. Make sure, yeah. So knowing where your child is at all times is important part of supervision. The most important time of the day to monitor is right after school. Kids are at the greatest risk at that time for substance abuse. Find out how your teen plans to spend their day. What are you planning to do tomorrow? What are you that you're excited about? And then limit the time your child spends without adult supervision. If you or another adult that you trust can't be home with your child, explore after school programs. If that's not possible, try to check in with your child periodically when they're home alone. Have a plan, basically. Set limits, clear limits. What they can and cannot do after school, when they do homework, when they can use the computer, when they can use their phone, how they use their phone, what other types of technologies and apps, who they can go be out with, and who they can be in the car with, especially when they start driving. Get to know your child's friends and parents. Be best friends with your kids' parents. That way you all share the same goals with your children. If your child is spending a lot of time at a friend's home for a party to hang out or play dates, it's important that you all are friends, or that you know each other, that everybody has everyone's phone number, you know what the supervision is going to be, and you know what those rules are in the other parent's house. When it comes to friends, encourage your child to seek positive relationships with people who respect them and not place them in with unfair pressure. And teach your child that a good friend will, one, never make them do something that presents that they are uncomfortable with, and two, these friends are those who make you feel valued and not judged. social media. That's, I think, the biggest issue a lot of parents face, and like, oh no. So young people are have to deal with the exposure. So the exposure to social media can be fun. However, social media can also be a place, social media sites like Instagram and Facebook, Snapchat, and all these other ones where these kids are looking at influencers and normal people, i.e. friends, and that might be engaging in risky behaviors. So that's one of that. So exposure, desensitization, blah, blah, blah. Desensitize. Okay, my brain and my mouth does not want to say this word. Sorry, but it's on the screen, so you see it. This type of exposure desensitizes, there we go, children to risky behaviors at a young age. So seeing these things over and over and over again, it just becomes normal. And then some things on social media makes not only normalizes, but it glamorizes alcohol use and drug use at younger ages. And so your child sees these things and they're like, oh, well, it's no big deal, I can do it. And then influential. So teens are uniquely vulnerable to the effects of what they see on social media. These groups are highly susceptible. This age group is highly susceptible to peer influences. And so in a recent study shows that 75% of teens seeing photos on social media network sites of other young people smoking weed or drinking encourages them to experiment in the same way. 75%. That's pretty high and pretty scary, and as a grown up looking after young people. Social media can also contribute to poor mental health as well, such as self-esteem, and or creating body images, low body images, low self-esteem, and which can also drive young people to drug use or alcohol. When teens are struggling emotionally, they will often turn to drugs and alcohol as a coping mechanism to help manage their difficult feelings. Frequently checking social media platforms and comparing oneself to others can make young people feel increasingly unhappy and isolated. So the best way to protect your child or children from these influences is by having open communication, educate them on the risk of substance abuse, and monitor their social media use. So what can you do as a parent to protect your child from risky social media influences? Biggest one, having open communication. And then you want to educate them on the use of substance abuse. You want to monitor their social media and how often they use it, and who's on it. Know the apps that they're getting on. And be familiar with how these apps work. Pay close attention to the types of social media that and apps that and by paying attention and making sure that they are using them within the established limits and guidelines that you've set. Depending on your child's age, it could be appropriate to know their passwords and scan their apps from time to time to check for unhealthy and unsafe activity. So recognizing signs that your child may need support. There are some signs that could indicate that a young person is using drugs. There are many signs. So it can be difficult to tell the difference between normal adolescent behavior and actual drug use. Caregivers are usually the first to notice if their child is having a tough time. If drug use is suspected, it is up to caring adults in a person's life to initiate that conversation and seek support. So changes So if they have changes in friends, behavior, and mood. So yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, so reviewing common signs of substance abuse. Secretive behavior can include aggressive efforts to bar family members from entering their bedroom, being secretive about where they're going with friends, and sudden requests for money without a reasonable explanation. So these are some signs, some common signs of substance abuse. So looking at their physical appearance and school performance. So one thing to do is pay close attention to what's going on in your child's life and note any concerning changes. Respond quickly to warning signs. Being aware of signs associated with drug and alcohol abuse is an effective way to prevent continued drug use. When you are familiar with the signs and symptoms of substance abuse, you can take action right away. Watch for social changes, changes in friend groups, and other warning signs. So when it comes to individual or family therapy, another critical incident is after a critical incident or stressor, children need the attention of and care of their parents and caregivers. Seeking professional help can also be beneficial. Counseling services support resilience by providing tools to cope, reminding our children that they are not alone, helping identify language to describe their feelings, and can be shared with a trusted adult. Explain your observations. So early identification can and care can help young people recover more quickly, benefit from their education, and to develop positive relationships. All of these benefits help reduce the risk of future substance abuse. It might be difficult to know where to start when reaching out for help. Here are a few prompts that can help you explain your concerns. I heard my child say, so this is you talking to, reaching out for help. I heard my child say, I observed my child. I've seen changes in my child's behavior, mood, and appearance. This is not my child's usual behavior. I think there's a problem because my child is feeling. So these are some great sentence starters that you can use when reaching out for help. On the screen, you'll see resources and information that you can use for places that you can reach out to. So if you're concerned or have questions, please contact a mental health professional to get more information about how you can help your child. These are the LAUSD resource. This is the LAUSD resource hotline. So how can I apply what I've learned today? Encourage participation in the reflective activity through share out, journaling. So like with your child, one of the things you can do is just kind of think about, and then with your child, just kind of share out or think about some of the ways you can approach this information with your child, or even before you even talk to your child, what you can do. Thank you for joining me in this third module of our substance abuse talk with children. And there is a evaluation that you can participate in. And I see that there are 2 questions or 2 things in the chat.
Mine.
Huh? Okay. Awesome. Well, and that is it for me, Mr. Huntsberger.
Awesome. So her slide right here. Thank you. There we go. Let's see if we can do this. And here, how do we get back to the Zoom? We stop the share. All right. So thank you, Ms. Dunklin. Well done. At this time, if there are any questions that folks have, you're more than welcome to raise your digital hand or put those questions in the chat. And Ms. Dunklin and I have a few minutes for any questions that you might have together. If you think of things later, you know how to reach out to us, Class Dojo or email or Schoology or any of those things. So thank you again so much for joining us today. And yeah, so if there aren't any questions, we'll end it here. It means you were very thorough, Ms. Dunklin. Thank you so much. Our last module will be 1 week from today. It'll be about building resilience in our children. I'll lead that module, and we'll see you here next Friday. I will also, separately from substance abuse, when I get more information about what's going on next week, any updates, I'll be sure to share that with families as well. I sent everyone a Class Dojo link yesterday evening of the brief meeting that I had with families last night. If you weren't able to join it live, it was pretty straightforward. But if there are any changes or new noticings, I will certainly share that. Anyway, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day, a great weekend. Our kids are walking over to Loyola Village in a little bit under an hour to see Wade in the Water, documentary about Black surfing and aquatic culture, and we're super excited to engage them in that. So thank you all so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye. This is weird because I got to now walk over there and turn it off. All right.
Bye.
Turn it off.